a little bit about it, and then we'll be done. All right, so let's talk first about linear equations. First of all, what is the difference in an equation and an inequality? Equation's what? Equal. Equation is an equal sign. What kind of sign is an inequality? Like it's greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than, less than. What we've been working with, right? Okay. So first we're going to talk about equations, then we'll jump to inequalities. Let me ask you this. If I give you an equation that looks like this, and I say, no, but this is just for the sake of example, then I'm going to do a harder one with you. I say solve for x. What do you do? How you know? You got to get the x by itself. You got to move the 2. How do you know what to do first? How do you know to get rid of the 2 and not the 5 first? Because they're both got to go. How do you know which one to do first? That's right. It's the opposite of PEMDAS because you're solving. It's the backwards of PEMDAS, which is SADMAP. Those of you who have had me, I say SADMAP a lot. If you haven't, I'm sorry. You've missed out, yeah.
I'm just looking at it because that thing where
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what you do. The reason I teach it with SADMAP is because a 2-step equation, it's really easy to see what you do and it's easy to figure out what you do. But if we get into big, long, complicated equations, sometimes you can get confused as to what you do first and what you do next. So, addition subtraction comes first. So the question is, how do I get rid of the addition subtraction? You subtract, you do the opposite, right? The opposite of addition is, and the opposite of subtraction is addition. So to get rid of 2, I need to subtract. But because it's an equation that has to stay equal, if I do it to one side, I got to do it to the other side. So that takes care of my addition subtraction. I know that this feels like that I'm teaching you Algebra 1, and it is a little bit, but I just want to make sure. That's and then you got to divide by 5. Multiplication division is next. That's why we do it. And so that cancels out. Oh, I'm going to need a battery for this thing.
I got you.
I don't know if we have any.
Oh, I bet we do.
You're so nice, so willing to help all the time. Were y'all in here whenever I was telling y'all about that yesterday? Tell me this. Once you solve, how can you check?
Let's go back and plug it in.
Plug it back in for x and make sure it works, right? All right. Of course, it's going to be harder than that. What if I have something that looks like yes, that's a good job. That's exactly right. 5x plus 2. I always tell my students, when you only see x one time in the equation, you can always SADMAP your way out of it every single time. But if you see it more than one time, you have to simplify first, and then you can SADMAP it. So here I'm looking to simplify, and so Forever said that when you have to distributive property, and yes, that is exactly right. We're going to go through and distribute, and then we're going to gather up our like terms so that we can get it simplified in order to solve it. So what do you get on the first one? 4x minus 6. How about the second one? There's one thing I have found in the years of teaching. Students love to distribute. Y'all will distribute in a heartbeat. But factor something out, backwards distribute, y'all don't want to do that. All right, so let's keep simplifying. And let's gather the like terms together. What do you see that's a like on the left side of the equation? 4x and 3x, which would give you, do I need more steps than what I'm doing? Because if I need to write out steps for you or anything like that, I will. Y'all okay? It's just a little review. All right. Negative 6 and 3 gives me negative 3. I still have x more than one time in the equation, so I'm not ready to start side mapping yet. What can I do? Move the 3. Let's move the x's first. Let's get the x's together. Let's try to just get one x. Which one should I move? Not that you're wrong in what you did. I'm going to move the 5. Always move the smaller one. Again, it's not that you can't move the other one. Just makes your life a little easier if you move the smaller one instead. 7x minus 5x is what? 2x. These are gone. I have 2. Now this looks like the other one did, right? What do? Add 3. Y'all sure we're not going too fast? Okay. You hate this? It's too easy? Divide by 2. I was fixing to do an example of one with a bunch of fractions. Don't get lost then? You know how to use your calculator for a fraction? For your homework and your classwork, you will. You know how to do it. Let's look at this one. Last one. If y'all get this one, we'll move on to inequality. Uh-oh. Y'all sure y'all ready for this? Yes. Ready or not? I have to simplify first. So the question is, what in the world should I do to simplify to get y by itself? There are several things that I could do here. Does anybody want to throw out a suggestion? 2, move the 2. Well, if you move the 2, oh, maybe. That's exactly what I would do on this one. I would multiply both sides by 8 to get rid of that and see what happens from there. That's my thought process on it. The other thing you could do, and I'm going to assume since y'all said you didn't like fractions that you won't like this idea, is you can take these two, or not, find a common denominator, and then combine them to solve. All right, so let's do the other way, and let's see. We may still end up having to do that, but let's see what happens. If we multiply by 8 here, now here's where you have to be careful. I'm multiplying this side by 8, which means everything. It's going to have to distribute, okay? But here it cancels, right? So now I have 5y minus 2 equals. What about the other side? What do I have? 16. What is 8y over 4? 2. This is 2y. Because when you multiply fractions, it's top times top and bottom times bottom. So it's y times 8 and then 4 times 1. It's a good question, though. Does everybody see what we did and why we did it? Okay. So that was really nice because, hey, my fractions are gone, right? All right. So now I have 5y minus 2 equals 16 plus 2y. What can I do? Subtract the 2y. Get your variables together. So I have 3y minus 2. Easy. This is a two-step equation now, right? Add 2. Oh my goodness. Not you. My pen's decided that it's just not going to work now.
I'm telling you, I can go to the library.
Yeah, but I hate for you to miss. Okay, run to the library and see if they have another battery for the pen. I know. 3y equals 18.
You know the look at every time you do that.
What?
It's the 8 to the
That's what it looks like I'm doing. Well, we might as well. We're in this old building. Probably used quill and ink whenever it was built. Because this mic is so sensitive whenever I write, that pen. But it's still the best option for recording that I have found. All right, yes or no? Questions, comments, concerns, yes? Y'all said you hated, yeah. Yeah. Y'all said you hated fractions. Do y'all know how to multiply through to get rid of fractions? Like if I had 1/2 x plus 2/3 equals, I'm thinking 3/4. And I didn't want to deal with the fractions in that equation. What is the least common denominator of 2, 3, and 4? So the least common multiple of all of them, what is it? Multiples, so think multiples. Multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12, right? If you multiply...
Any student on the 400 hall who does not have books yet may report to the book room. Any student without books on the 400 hall.
If you multiply everything through by 12, and this is just if you don't like to deal with the fractions to start with, and this is an easy example, but if you had a whole bunch of fractions, this is a pretty handy little trick. You get 12 over 2x plus 24 over 3 equals 36 over 4. All of these turn into whole numbers when you do that. So you get 6x plus 8 equals 9. Just a handy little trick for getting rid of fractions, since y'all said you don't like fractions. That's a good way to get rid of them. The only thing you have to do there is find that least common multiple between all of the bottoms. All right, really quick, inequalities, and I'll be done. And this is super duper easy. What is the difference in solving an inequality versus an equation? The sign. And there's one thing that's different when you solve. Do you know what it is? No? We just reviewed this in honors yesterday. Everything's exactly the same except one step. It has to do with a negative. Nobody remembers?
I bet if you showed me that.
If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality sign. Y'all remember doing that?
Yes.
Other than that, the steps for solving an inequality are exactly the same as the steps for solving an equation. So look at the example. What would I do first? Distribute. What do you get? 3x minus 3. Clean it up. What's the left side become? 3x minus 1. Now I have 2 x's and 2 whole numbers. So I need to get everybody that's alike together, right? Which one should I move? Subtract the 3x. Whichever one you want. If you move the 5x, that's fine. What now? Am I going too fast or y'all bored? Okay. Subtract the 6. And then what? Yep. Now, this is negative over here. Does that mean I should flip the sign? No. Only when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Now, you're going to have to interpret your answer in interval notation. Okay? As you do interval notation, here's what you need to remember. This is not a less than problem, even though that sign's going that way. Okay? You have to put the variable first. This is really x is greater than or equal to negative 7/2. So in interval notation, tell me what that looks like. And if you need to put it on the number line first, do it. Is it open or closed? Why? Does it go to the right or to the left? Greater than, which way do the numbers get bigger? To the right. Now write it in interval notation. What's the smallest x can be? Negative 7/2. Is that a bracket or a parenthesis? Why? It's closed. It includes. It equals that. What's the biggest it can be? What's it go up to? Infinity. Is that a bracket or a parenthesis? Seen all the kinds of inequalities that you need to see. Very last example, I promise, I know I keep saying that's it. What if you see something that looks like, we've done a lot of them that are already solved that look like this? But what if it's a compound inequality like that? Do you know how to solve that? Still getting x by itself. Look at the middle. What do I do to get x alone? Somebody said it. What'd you say? Multiply by 3. Right? Here's the difference whenever it's like this. When you do something to the middle in a compound inequality, you have to do it to both sides. So these, it has 3 parts, you do it 3 times. Does that make sense? Do y'all remember doing this a long time ago? You should have. Now whether you did or not. What now? Move the 5. You're not even, the only thing you're doing with the ends there is whatever you do to the middle, you're doing to those as well. But your x is always going to be in the middle of these compound like this. Negative 14. I was going to say, I know y'all can get that last step. I'm glad I stopped to show y'all this. I just assumed you'd seen that before. Yep. So think about if it was an equation and on one side you had 2x plus 5 over 3. To get x by itself, your first step would be to multiply by 3 to both sides. So you do the same thing. Yep. So I got negative 7 and I have 5. Write in an interval notation and you're done.
Any student
my
on the 200 hall who
goodness.
has not received books, please report to the book room at this time. That's the 200.
How do you write it in interval notation? You know this, yes. Parentheses, negative 7, comma, 5 bracket. The sandwich ones like that are really easy. Tell me what you think. Easy? You don't like it?
It seems like a nice little